The chieftain's wife screams as the red-hot iron brands sear into her flesh. But she's not being tortured, she's volunteering. This is her wedding night, and what happens next will haunt you forever. Welcome back to the darkest corners of Viking society, where honor and horror walked hand in hand. I'm taking you inside 3 traditions so disturbing they were buried by history itself. Today we're exploring practices that make our previous episodes look tame. We're talking about rituals that turned human bodies into living canvases of pain, ceremonies where death was just the opening act, and a coming-of-age tradition so brutal that modern special forces would refuse to attempt it. Picture this. It's 847 CE in the fjords of Norway. The long winter is ending, but the real darkness is just beginning. Viking society operates on codes we can barely comprehend, where proving your worth means enduring the unendurable, and where the line between sacred ritual and sadistic torture doesn't exist. These aren't the sanitized Vikings from your favorite TV shows. These are people living in a world where survival depends on reputation, and reputation depends on how much agony you can endure with a smile. Drop a comment right now if you think you could handle what these Vikings went through, because I guarantee you can't. 3 traditions, 3 levels of disturbing, and by the end of this video you'll understand why these practices were so terrifying that even other Vikings tried to forget them. But first let me tell you about the Scar wedding. The flames dance across Astrid's face as she stares at the glowing iron rod. Tonight she marries Bjorn the Fearless, and their union must be sealed not with rings, but with permanent marks of devotion carved into living flesh. This is the Scar wedding, a tradition so extreme it was practiced only by the most hardcore Viking clans in remote fjords of western Norway. Here's how it worked. Before the couple could consummate their marriage, they had to prove their eternal commitment by inflicting matching wounds on each other. Not small cuts, we're talking about deliberate scarification that would mark them for life. Astrid takes the iron first. Her hands shake, not from fear but from adrenaline. She presses the red-hot metal against Bjorn's chest, right over his heart. The smell of burning flesh fills the longhouse. Bjorn doesn't scream, he can't. To show pain would dishonor not just himself, but his new wife. Now it's his turn. The logic behind this ritual. Vikings believed that shared pain created an unbreakable bond. Modern psychology actually backs this up. Trauma bonding is real, and couples who survive intense experiences together often develop deeper connections. But here's the truly disturbing part. If either partner flinched or cried out during the scarring, the marriage was considered cursed. The couple would be banished from the clan, forced to wander as outcasts. Pause the video right now and guess what percentage of Scar weddings do you think ended in banishment? The answer will shock you, but first you need to hear about the ritual that made the Scar wedding look like child's play. Deep in the forests of Sweden, the berserker clans practiced something called the bone harvest, a coming-of-age ritual so brutal that even hardened warriors would whisper about it in terror. Picture 16-year-old Erik, son of a legendary berserker chief. To earn his place among the wolf warriors, he must complete a trial that begins with being buried alive and ends with, well, you'll see. The bone harvest started in early spring, when the ground was still frozen. The candidate was stripped naked and buried in a shallow grave with only their head exposed. Then they waited. For 3 days and 3 nights they lay motionless as the earth slowly thawed around them. But the burial was just preparation. The real test began when they were finally dug up. Erik emerges from his earthen prison, hypothermic and delirious. His skin is blue, his muscles cramped beyond imagination. But now comes the harvest itself. Using only a dull bone knife, hence the name, Erik must hunt and kill a wolf with his bare hands, not trap it, not use clever tactics, hunt it down and strangle it to death while it fights back with everything it has. Here's what makes this even more insane. The ritual took place during wolf mating season, when the animals are most aggressive and territorial. Modern military survival experts estimate that even with proper training and equipment, successfully killing a wolf in hand-to-hand combat has maybe a 15% success rate. These teenagers were attempting it while weakened from days of exposure and armed with basically a sharpened stick. Team Wolf or Team Viking? Drop your vote in the comments. But what happened to those who failed will make your blood run cold. If the bone harvest claimed a life, the deceased's family faced a choice that reveals the darkest depths of Viking psychology, the Silence Feast. This wasn't grief counseling, this was ritualized cannibalism disguised as honor. The family of the dead berserker candidate would invite the entire clan to a funeral feast. Normal enough, right? Every culture has funeral meals, but the Vikings took it to a place that defies modern understanding. The centerpiece of the Silence Feast wasn't venison or pork, it was the failed candidate himself. The body would be prepared like any other meat, seasoned with precious imported spices and served to the assembled warriors. But here's the twist that makes this truly disturbing. everyone had to eat in complete silence. No prayers, no eulogies, no words of comfort. The belief was that by consuming their fallen clan members' flesh in silence, the community would absorb his courage and prevent his failure from contaminating future candidates. The silence ensured that his fear and defeat wouldn't be spoken into existence. Modern anthropologists compare this to certain Papua New Guinea tribes who practice mortuary cannibalism, but even those cultures include ceremonial speaking. The Vikings' complete silence transforms this from a spiritual act into something far more sinister. Parents would sit there, chewing their son's flesh, tears streaming down their faces, unable to even whisper his name. Here's the question that'll keep you up tonight. Would you rather be the one being eaten, or the parent forced to eat? But the most disturbing part of the silence feast isn't what happened during the meal, it's what happened after. After the silence feast ended, something remarkable happened. The entire event was erased from clan memory. No stories, no songs, no mention of the deceased's name ever again. It was as if these young men had never existed at all. This level of psychological warfare, because that's what it was, reveals something profound about Viking society. They understood trauma in ways we're only beginning to grasp. They weaponized grief, turned failure into fuel, and created rituals so intense that they literally rewired the human psyche. Modern parallels exist everywhere. Military hazing, fraternity initiations, corporate cultures that demand extreme dedication. We've sanitized the methods, but the psychology remains the same. The Vikings didn't just raid and pillage. They engineered human behavior through controlled trauma, creating warriors so psychologically conditioned that fear became impossible. If these stories are reshaping how you see history, smash that subscribe button, because we're just getting started. Next week, we're diving into Part 5, the Blood Maps, a navigation system so disturbing it makes today's episode look tame. These Vikings used human sacrifice to create living GPS systems, and the science behind it will blow your mind. What disturbing historical tradition should we investigate next? Drop your darkest suggestions below.